Well, howdy there, Internet students. Mr. Hermanson again. Today we're going to talk about reflections, which is flipping an object, okay? Or looking in a mirror, something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the object over a certain line, all right? And then we're going to try and figure out what the new points are from that, okay? That line is called the line of symmetry, okay? And here's some examples of that. If you have a symmetrical object, then there's some line that mirrors the other side. So on a butterfly, you see it right there in the middle. You can also just flip the whole object over a line, like we're doing with this turtle here, creating a whole new image, but reversed sort of reflection of that. Okay. You might see some of that in this pattern of this shirt. You can use reflections to find distances and to well, you probably noticed that if you have a window in your house, you can reflect off that window and change the channels on your TV. Okay, so let's first talk about symmetry. If there is symmetry, you will know that because you can draw a line and the object will be the same on both sides of that line, and it will also be equal distance to those points, like say this point right here, this spot, this circle. You'll have that the same exact distance and perpendicular to that line. Okay, so in this object here, there's also a horizontal line of symmetry too, like right. The first one I drew is a vertical line of symmetry, but I believe there's also a horizontal line of symmetry right there. Okay. There could be diagonal lines of symmetry too. If I drew a diagonal line in here, you'll notice that it's not a line of symmetry because you don't have the same points on both sides of that line. So I'm going to undo that. That's not true, but it looks like there's two lines of symmetry there. Go ahead and draw on the lines of symmetry and see if you get them. So here's what I'm thinking on each of those. All right. Sometimes an object is on a graph and the line of reflection is an axis or another line on the graph. Usually it's an axis, but it can be any line on the graph. And you should be able to reflect it across that. Okay, now one thing you'll notice when you reflect it across that line, like on this one, our line of reflection is the y-axis. I'll just duplicate that there. There's your line of reflections. Notice that there's a couple things going on here. That this length right here is 3, and this length right here is also 3. This length right here is 2. This length right here is also 2. Okay, so we can find the image points by measuring the same distance across whatever line we are reflecting. Okay, so make sure you know which is the x-axis. This is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and we're going to reflect over the y-axis here on each of these. So we're going to move it, and I'll do this first one for you. So this letter C is 1 unit to the y-axis. You need to go 1 more unit to put that point there. Okay. This point B is 2 units there. You need to go 2 more units, put that point there. And we call that the image of B, the image of C, and then the image of A is 3 units to the other side of the y-axis. So there's the image of A. Okay, and then you can go ahead and draw in your shape, reproduce the lines, and there you go. Go ahead and try the next one, see if you get it right. All right, I think if you did it right, it should look something like that. Make sure that this distance to the y-axis is the same as this distance to the new point. All right. And if you do that, you should be good. And also remember that this is your y-axis and this is your x-axis. All right. If you were given a triangle ABC and asked to reflect it over the x-axis, it would become triangle A image, B image, C image. Sometimes you say A prime, B prime, C prime is another way to say that. But the image of AB, triangle ABC looks like that, reflected across the x-axis. Okay, now notice also that this is the same deal. That distance is the same as that distance. Point C, that's 2, that's 2. All right, so on these we're going to reflect them over the x-axis. So I'm going to measure this distance as 1 and go 1 more and put my image of E there. For F, I'm going to go down to the x-axis. That distance is 2. I'm going to go 2 more. And that will be my image of F. And then D, I need to go down 4 to get to the x-axis. I'll go 4 more. And that's my image of D. And then you just draw on the lines. And that's your image. Go ahead and try the next one. All right, that's what that looks like. All right. Sometimes a line of symmetry is a different line on the graph. You will have to draw on that line before you graph the image. So you have to know where this line x equals 3 is. And that line is right where, it's a vertical line right where x equals 3. So notice how I crossed right through 3 on the x-axis with that line. All right. So once you have that line, now you can go ahead and create the points. All right, you just move to that line. It's 1 unit to there, so you need to go 1 more unit the other side of that line. And that's your image of M. The N is 2 units to the line, you need to go 2 more. That's your image of N. And R is 1 unit, you need to go 1 more unit. That's your image of R. Once you have that done, you can connect the lines. And that looks like this. And there's your image. Now, check this out. We're going to write the coordinates of the image points right here. I'll let you guys do that. So figure out what are the coordinates of those 3 points that I drew in there. All right. So let's just make sure we got these lines correctly. We're gonna reflect across the line x equals -1. That line is right here because we're going right through -1 on the x-axis. It's a vertical line. Y equals -1 is this line right here. Okay, so you're gonna flip that object over that line, those lines I showed you that are in black now. Good. Notice on this one that because one of the points was on the line there, that the image of H is actually the same as H, and that'll happen. The other thing we're going to do here is we are going to create a table to write down our original points. And so there's 3 points. There's point D, E, and F. Point D is, now remember this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, this is the origin right here, so we're going from there, not my black line. So D is 1, 4. F is 2, 2. And E is 0, 1. Go ahead and put the 4 original points here. All right, there's the points I got for that. I put mine in order alphabetically this time. Okay, so go ahead and summarize what you learned on how to draw the reflection on a coordinate grid.